So I was a barista in high school, along with who's now my wife, but my girlfriend at the time, who was also a barista in high school. And always enjoyed the coffee industry, but wasn't necessarily passionate about it, so to speak. And really, I was passionate about music, and so right out of high school, I started touring with a band that I was a fan of, that I ended up joining, and did that for about 6 years, and then had saved some money through touring, and was getting tired of travel. And my wife Andrea went to the university and was getting her master's in creative writing, but also managing all the Arcegas kind of around here at the time, and kind of got the opportunity to purchase a couple. And I was really ready to kind of settle down, and so used kind of some of that music money as purely sort of a financial investment at the time. And that was kind of how we got our feet wet into coffee. And then, I don't know, immediately kind of fell in love with it, and kind of have an all-or-nothing personality, I guess. So once I was done with music, decided I was going to be in coffee, and so started kind of learning micro roasting. Went to study micro roasting in Idaho with a company called Diedrich, who's sort of the grandfather of American micro roasting, I guess you could say. Kind of invented the heat source that's used for smaller roasters. And then just started traveling abroad and learning the agronomy side of things, and came back and sort of was planning the concept of Onyx, but wanted to wait a couple years to really get all the details right, and then rebranded one of the stores, kind of launched the brand. It did quite well, and so rebranded the second store, and then sort of started launching the brand as more of what we kind of wanted to do in coffee, I guess. You know, I fell in love with coffee, and once I saw the entire chain and just how great of an industry it was, from the producers to the washing stations, the cooperatives, exporters, all the way down the line to roasters, and just I don't know, I just kind of became quite passionate about it, and really got into the tasting aspect and all the sensory science of coffee, and it just made pretty clear right away that I wanted to deal with people that felt the same way about coffee, instead of just trying to hustle beans based on price, or I don't know, all the other marketing things that I don't really understand. I just wanted to deal with people that were like-minded, I guess. And that also just turned out to be, I think, probably the right business move too, is that we have 80 employees for 3 stores, but we have 10 employees at the roastery to manage another 400 cafes, which is great, and so from a business side it made sense, but also we get to stay in coffee. I like the restaurants, but I'm not a restaurant person. My wife is better at that, but I can deal with coffee on a basis and talk with people with a language, instead of constantly trying to educate a public that's going to recycle and change over. I can just talk with people. This area didn't really have anyone really pushing specialty coffee, and so it just felt like an easy way in, I guess. And it's been good, and that's intrigued, I think, the West and the East Coast that was full of specialty, because I tend to think we have to work harder to get our coffee in there. So it's kind of made us hustle a little more, maybe. Locally, we really want to have a cafe in each of the downtowns of Northwest Arkansas. That's a pretty big. That's something we think we can do in the next 2 years or so. We're pretty serious about that, and then we'll probably cut the footprints from there, and just grow kind of the roasting business. And I guess we have lofty long-term goals outside of the United States, as far as working on better logistics and opening up more transparency cooperatives, especially for exporters, as the coffee industry still is still a bit too secretive, and I don't know. That's maybe a longer conversation than we have time for, but improving the way we buy and how that is viewed both from the customer and from the cafe standpoint. Starting what's called like a nano lot program, where we're working on sourcing specifically for accounts to have kind of private nano lots that they work with producers hand in hand, and that way recuperation money goes back to the producer, and the transparent model of it goes into the hands of whatever cafe is using it without them having to roast. So sort of like in theory, like almost direct trade sourcing, even if you don't roast yourself. So we've kind of been toying with that model, but we're not quite smart enough to figure that out yet. We're getting close.